Welcome to Wednesday shared reading for the 1st of April, week 10, everyone. As we know, our learning intention is we are learning to understand the text we are reading. We know we will be successful when we do all of these things. I'm not going to read through them today, but I just want to touch on the ones that we've been looking at. So we've been looking at making predictions before we read and as we read, using our knowledge image as the title, the author, the blurb, and the recommendation. We've been modifying predictions as we read, and today we're going to focus a little bit more on making connections. So text-to-text connections, text-to-world connections, and text-to-self connections. These were my predictions that I had made on Monday after reading. And I've just highlighted the ones that were correct in green. So I had predicted that one of the characters was going to weave an old life with a new life. And I talked about that theme of cultural displacement through that, and that one of the characters was probably moving to another country. So I've said that prediction was correct. My other prediction that was correct was that the two characters on the front cover were going to become friends as they share a common interest. And we are starting to see that Cartwheel is becoming friends with the other character, the other girl on the front cover. I've actually made some new predictions as well. So I'm predicting that Cartwheel has been exposed to things, so the war, that children shouldn't have to see, therefore changing who Cartwheel is. So maybe Cartwheel used to be a happy, vibrant young girl, and her auntie no longer calls her Cartwheel. That's the evidence from the text. Therefore, perhaps she's seen or she's witnessed things at war or during the war in her country that she shouldn't have to see. I'm also thinking that the strange symbols, images, and pictures coming from the mouths of the people in the crowd is actually a representation of the new language that Cartwheel doesn't understand. And Freya Blackwood is going to perhaps use those symbols to illustrate the new language being spoken by people and Cartwheel not understanding that new language. Our focus for shared reading for Wednesday is making connections. So we're looking at making connections text to text, so looking at My Two Blankets and thinking about other books that might have similar themes, similar storylines, similar events happening in them. Text to world, so we're thinking about My Two Blankets, and then we're thinking about things that are happening in our world, or things that might have happened in the past, or things that we might have seen on the news that remind us of this book. We're also thinking about text to self. So maybe Cartwheel is experiencing some things that you've experienced in your life, or perhaps you're going to experience, or you're going to be able to relate to the other character. Maybe the experiences of the other character are things that you can connect to, things that you can relate to. Nobody spoke like I did. When I went out, it was like standing under a waterfall of strange sounds. The waterfall was cold. It made me feel alone. I felt like I wasn't me anymore. When I was at home, I wrapped myself in a blanket of my own words and sounds. I called it my old blanket. My old blanket was warm. It was soft. It covered me all over. It made me feel safe. Sometimes I didn't want to go out. I wanted to stay under my old blanket forever. Now, I'm making a connection to that because when I was 10 years old, I actually moved to another country. I moved to a country called Brunei. I'm not sure if a lot of you know that. But I'm making a connection to how Cartwheel's feeling right now because I lived in this country and I actually didn't understand the language that people were speaking. So I often felt alone. I often felt like I didn't fit in and I wanted to feel safe. So at home, I would wrap myself in my own blanket, my own metaphorical blanket. My family were my blanket, as we all spoke the same language and we all shared the same experiences and we all shared the same feelings. So I'm making a text-to-self connection.